trips around. I went all over the country fishing and this, that, and the other. But the greatest thing that happened to me is I ended up in California, and I went from smoking swag and Mexican dirt weed to this great Humboldt gold and stuff like that. It's like
Yeah.
it just like transformed me. So at some point in the mid '90s, I had totally admit that I was transporting weed. I was a smuggler. I was bringing some really good back from California. I was go through for bulk, you know. I'd go through Arizona and Texas and pick up weed and bring it back, and I was doing very, very, very well financially. At some point, the DEA got wind of me, and I got arrested along with two other people in 1997, and the DEA didn't take up the case though. They passed it on to the state and let the state prosecute me, and that's when I started arguing about jury nullification. And I was like, no jury can find me guilty. Listen, out of 12 people, there's going to be 3 or 4 of them that actually smoke marijuana. If that statistic about
Yeah.
20% of people smoke marijuana, then all right,
In the
12
United
people.
States?
Somewhere, right, especially like in an area like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay.
so there's actually 14 people in the jury. So my assumption was even in the late '90s, there's at least 3 people smoke weed, could possibly smoke weed on the jury. 6 or 7 of them have like an immediate relative who smoked weed, and or they have in the past, and everybody on the jury knows somebody who smoked.
Of
So my
course.
argument was like, dude, I'm going to argue to the jury that the law is wrong and not me. And I'm explaining to them I'm just like your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousin who smokes weed. And no matter how much weed I had, I shouldn't go to jail whether it was 4 joints or 40 pounds. And the prosecutor laughed at me. The prosecutor said I was talking my way into prison. And then on the opening day of trial in 2000, one of my jurors started crying and said she couldn't put me in jail. And they took her off the jury. And then another lady juror started crying. And,
God
but,
damn.
like,
You owe her so
yeah, hell yeah. So then suddenly
So you have
everybody
a
was like, whoa, wait a minute, he might win. And I wound up taking a plea. And, like, I said for 2 years, from 97 to 2000, 3 years, from 97 to 2000, that I wasn't going to take a plea. I was going to trial. There's no way I can sign a piece of paper and walk my way into jail. Well, right in the middle of my trial, those 2 ladies started crying. It looked like I was going to win. I was at least going to get a hung jury. And I was facing at least 20 years in jail in prison for the 40 pounds was a first degree charge.
Yeah.
So I could have got up to 20 years. They offered me 12. I was like, I'm not signing no piece of paper and walking in prison for 12
at that
years.
point was
You
medicinal
know,
legal in some
medicinal?
states?
No, well, only in
In 2000,
California and
yeah.
Arizona.
Okay.
That was it. And then, but I was like, no, people believe this. I don't think that. I knew that they couldn't get 12 people. I thought that. Well, anyway, what happened was they offered me the Camden County prosecutor, John T. Wynn. He offered me what they call a 10 flat, meaning okay, I'll get 10 flat, but I'm instantly eligible for any type of program. So I had said no, and we resumed the trial. And when we resumed the trial was when the second lady started crying. So that was when then suddenly they offered. They were like they wanted to get rid of the case. They didn't want to suffer the embarrassment of losing to me. I was representing myself, and they offered me ISP. So I went from facing a first degree crime to ISP because I was advocating jury nullification. I was advocating to the jury that the law is wrong, it's not me. I was giving them all kinds of examples. I didn't care. Told them I smoke weed every day, the whole 9 yards.
Oh my God.
What about the
Insane.
argument that it's the quantity though? That quantity is more than
So
you, is bigger than you.
again, that's what I said. So what's the
Yeah.
difference
It's
between
bigger than
four
you though.
4 joints or 40 pounds?
It's the same
The
thing.
fact of the matter
Oh, because
is,
I could have.
yeah, and like yeah, it doesn't matter, and it's the government that causes distribution like this. It's the government that causes the black
Yeah, by
market.
choking
Like that's
out,
my
yeah.
argument.
Yeah.
It should be it should be regulated. It should be places where you can go buy it. It should be all that. But the government has this irrational view of it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's my argument. So it was working a lot better than the prosecution had anticipated. So suddenly they were faced with what are we going to do with him? And
Did you defend
they
yourself or
offered
you had a
me.
lawyer?
No, I always represent myself. And they
Yeah,
asked
bro.
me to. They
what's up.
asked me
That's
to
what's up.
to take the deal. And I said the only way I'll take the deal is I get to pull the jury too. And the judge said he had never heard that request, but cool, he wanted to know too. And when I told him that, hey, thanks for coming, thanks for this. The American system this is how the American jury system works. It wouldn't work without the people. Blah 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 blah. But unfortunately, I did take a plea. I just took a plea, but we all want to know how many people were feeling for me by a show of hands. 5 hands went up.
Wow.
So I would have got a hung jury. So at that point, I was like, I'll never ever take a plea again. And I never have taken a plea again.